Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Hi.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. If you want to use the chat, you could just share your name, where you're from. That would be helpful as more people come in. Thank you for being on time.
Hi, Chantel.
For some reason, I can't hear. Hmm. And someone just unmute. I'm just trying to make sure I can hear.
Good evening, Assembly Member.
Perfect.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. You please share in the chat your name, your organization, anything that we would need that would be helpful. Any contact information, feel free to share it in the chat. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us and being on time.
Hi guys, welcome everyone. This is Shakir here from Citizens NYC. Our other moderator will be joining us momentarily. So while we wait, I encourage everyone to put their name, where they're from, and if you represent an organization in the chat box. And our moderator will be joining us like any second now. And then we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation tonight. And I want to thank Assemblywoman Jackson here, as well as Assemblyman Cunningham's office for co-sponsoring this evening.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry for the delay. Looks like we have a nice turnout. So good to be here. I'm Michael Hickey, Chief Operating Officer for Citizens Committee for New York City. And Shaki and I will be your hosts this evening, along with our elected leaders. I see Assemblymember Chantel Jackson here, and good to see you, Assemblymember Jackson. And I'm hoping that Assemblymember Brian Cunningham or one of his team members is available. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Feel free to hang out for just another second while we get ourselves ready for our presentation. Assemblymember, I hope we're being introduced to a friend or a family member here, a young leader.
Mostly everyone knows him, but that's TJ, my son. He comes to work with me every day.
Nice. Hello, TJ. Welcome. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So appreciate everybody who's here. And remember, TJ, love it. Love it. Feel free to drop your name and contact information in the chat. We'll be using the chat to include links to information throughout the presentation. But I actually want to get us started by giving our elected partners who are co-hosting the event with us this evening a chance to say hello and to talk about their leadership, their work, and their relationship to Citizens Committee for New York City. Assemblywoman Jackson, do you mind if I yield the floor to you?
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. So happy to be amongst you. I'm Assemblymember Jackson. I represent the 79th Assembly District in the South Bronx. I cannot tell you how important this group is to my community. These small grants, these grants that are much easier to get than state grants, have been so impactful with beautifying the Bronx, with just helping out all the different needs that we have. So I am going to be forever grateful to you all, and thank you for putting together this workshop on funding. Because what we know is that there's a lot of resources out there, but if you don't know how to access them, then it's almost useless. So as I am the chair of the micro business subcommittee under the Small Business Committee in the state, business is so vital to wealth development in a family, to even families who didn't have a traditional path. A business that can change that. Like my ex-husband, who has a criminal conviction, without being his own business owner, probably would never been able to earn a good income. So, business is extremely important to me. Grants is very helpful to sustain the business in which we have. And so I want to say thank you again to you all. Nonprofits are pretty much how my district survives. Like there's no big corporation there. So a lot of the nonprofits and small businesses are how we all survive. So thank you all for being here, and I yield the floor back.
Thank you, Assemblymember. If there's a representative from Assemblymember Cunningham's office who would like to take just a couple of minutes to say hello, we're happy to give you some space as well. Okay, if they join us, we'll definitely make some time for them. Shaki, do you want to say hello and give a quick introduction for yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Michael. My name is Shaki. I am in charge of community outreach at Citizens NYC. I think Assemblywoman Jackson really summed it up really amazing. Our goal here is to invest in communities and help build a better New York City. And we don't just invest in businesses, but we invest in nonprofits and community organizations. And I'm so proud to be a part of that work. And so I will drop my email in the chat box if anybody needs to reach out or has any further questions, and I'll pass it back to Mike. And Mike, I don't know if you froze, but Assemblywoman Jackson said Assemblyman Cunningham is on his way. So we'll give him a few extra moments until he gets here. I think Mike may have froze unless it's just me. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can hear me at this moment?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I think Mike just may have froze. And so I'll allow Mike to introduce himself. He is our COO, which is our Chief Operating Officer for the nonprofit. We're also spearheaded by our amazing leader. We're also spearheaded by amazing leader, Rasan, who is our CEO, and couldn't join us this evening, but would have loved to join us. And so I see Mike is actually logging into another Zoom account, which he'll be doing that momentarily. I do apologize for some of the technical delays this evening. And somebody's here from Assemblyman Cunningham's office, so I'll throw the floor over to you.
Awesome. Well, this is great to see everybody here. I'm such a huge fan of what Citizens Committee does. I think it's so important for small community groups to get the lift up. So many times there's a lot of nonprofits are great at writing grants and they get tons of money, but to get to that point is the challenge for a lot of groups. So I think really the work of Citizens Committee is phenomenal, and I hope to stay in touch with everyone here. I'll put my name in the chat, and I'll let you take it away. Oh, if anybody has any questions, so we're over here in the 43rd Assembly District, Crown Heights, Prospect, Lefferts Garden area. If you want to stay in touch with us, we would be more than glad to hear from you.
Thank you, Assembly Member. And thanks, Shaki, for jumping in to help manage this. There've been a couple of technical difficulties this evening, so appreciate everybody being patient and flexible with us. Assembly Member, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Michael Hickey. I'm the COO for Citizens Committee for New York City, and one of your co-hosts this evening. So pleasure to be with you, and thanks for that kind introduction. I am going to share my screen and get us started. Hopefully everybody is now seeing the first page of our presentation, and I'm actually going to start by dropping in a link to the presentation itself. One of the nice things about this is that everybody can access the presentation content throughout the course of the evening. The link that I'm sharing is actually all the materials in the presentation, and you can follow along. You can share it with friends and neighbors. It's a great place to come back to if you have additional questions, you want to remember something, because it has links inside the presentation that'll give you access to all this same material. We're hoping to take about 30 to 45 minutes for our presentation this evening. We're going to talk about the Community Leader All-in Neighborhood Grant, as well as the Neighborhood Business Grant. Shaki, I'm going to turn it to you for the next slide. Hang on just 1 second.
Perfect, thank you, Mike. So here at Citizens NYC, we understand the importance of our grants, but we also understand that many people often are very hesitant to apply to our grants because they feel like they need to be the grant writer or expert and fill out the application. So we want to let you know that you do not have to be an expert in applying for our grants. Many people applying or working on grant applications for the first time, and we understand that. We keep our grant application simple and straightforward so it can serve as a template for other grants that you may be applying for. Today, we'll walk through a few key things that we're looking for in the application and answer any questions you may have as we go forward. I do want to remind you that you always have the opportunity to drop any question you have in the chat, but we will have room at the end for a Q&A section. And I'll throw it back to Mike.
Great. We're going to be handing off slides to each other throughout the evening. If you're not familiar with Citizens NYC, our mission is to help all New Yorkers, especially those in low-income communities, to come together and improve the quality of life in your neighborhoods. We seek to deepen community awareness of your work and your vision, support and grow leaders like you across all New York City neighborhoods, and build collaborative partnerships to lift up and scale that collective work.
We've been around since 1975, investing in change makers who step up to the everyday needs of our communities across all 5 boroughs. We conduct surveys, we host forums, and we convene leaders like you from across the city to generate solutions for the toughest challenges. We invite you to stay connected with us through our mailing list, as well as our number of social medias, which we will also drop via our chat. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you at our information sessions or any other learning events we may have.
Thanks, Shaki. The work of Citizens Committee is about creating opportunities. We've created programs that are built with you in mind. We know that you're the folks that are stepping up in times of crisis, during the pandemic, in the aftermath of storms or fires or other local events that can be challenging for people. You're also there on the ground, seeing the needs in your community in real time. You're on the front lines of reimagining a New York City that is there to benefit everybody.
So we'll jump right on in. Our community grant makes small awards up to $3,000 to grassroots projects carried out by resident-led groups. I'll drop the link to our grant page as well as a link to our direct application itself, but you can go ahead and take a view. And thank you for that, Mike.
That's all right. The guidelines that we're sharing with you now are here to help us focus on opportunities in New York City where there's the greatest impact. We're looking for resident-led grassroots groups with a budget of $150,000 or less. Schools can have budgets larger than $150,000, but otherwise we ask that all of our applicants fall under that cap. We define group really loosely. You don't have to be a nonprofit. You don't have to have a 501c3. You don't even have to have a fiscal sponsor. You don't need any specific tax status at all. As long as 2 or more people are coming together, you're eligible as a group to apply.
Sorry about that, everyone. I was muted. So now it's time to apply. The community grant application deadline is May 12th. I repeat, May 12th. Applications are accepted on a rolling basis, and we encourage you to apply as early as possible. Early applicants are more likely to be funded and more likely to get larger awards. Please be mindful that our community leader application has 2 parts. Once we review your initial application, we'll reach out to you in a few weeks to request a shorter supplemental application with more details like a budget, expected project outcomes, and additional media information. Please be on the lookout for the email invitation from grant@citizen.org.
grants@citizensnyc.org, which is also available in the chat. I want to spend a little time and give you some examples of things that people have been awarded to do in the past. I'm sure a lot of these ideas will resonate with you all. And it's good to just kind of make you aware of the scale and scope and diversity of projects that we support. In food security, we support food pantries, meal delivery practices. In the environment, community gardens, seed exchanges, compost programs, cleanup efforts. In arts and culture, writing groups, music and dance groups, community murals, open streets and block parties. In immigration, working with English as a second language fluency classes and programs, citizenship, voting rights. In education, supporting study skills, college preparation, reading tutors, financial aid, campus tours, even parenting classes. In mental and physical health, working on issues like yoga and mindfulness, supporting people with chronic illnesses like diabetes or obesity or hypertension, and vaccine education. And in youth empowerment, supports for sports and athletics, peer mentorship, and student voice.
We have 4 key criteria when we're looking at applications: a clarity of your description, quality of life impact, community engagement, and overall need. When writing, we suggest that you tell us your story, just like you would tell your family member, a friend, or a neighbor. Use your own voice. You can learn more about the selection criteria, which Mike has already dropped in the chat, and you can see a sample application, which Mike has also dropped in the chat. And we also provided some frequent Q&As that many people have asked, and also a blank copy to our current application.
If you have any questions, we're pretty easy to track down. You can find us at our email address at grants@citizensnyc.org. And on our website, you can access all the information that we just shared, citizensnyc.org/grantmaking. That's a brief description of the Community Leader All-in Neighborhood Grant. I want to pause for just a few minutes and see if there's any questions about that program from anybody in the audience. And in just a few minutes, after we have a chance to share this, we'll move on to talking about the Neighborhood Business Grant application as well, for those of you who are interested in that program. Are there any questions on the Community Leader All-in Neighborhood Grant?
Yes. So I was reading listening to you, you said that you don't need the business license, right? So
Sorry, go ahead, finish your
yeah,
question.
but that's my question. Do you need a business license or not?
So the Community Leader Grant is for nonprofit or community-led initiatives. It's not the business grant. We're going to talk about the business grant in just a minute. For the Community Leader Grant, you don't need to be a nonprofit organization or have a fiscal sponsor. You can just be a small group of individuals who are coming together to make change. The business grant, which we'll talk about in just a minute, you do actually have to be a business and provide proof of business ownership. And we'll give a few more details about what that means.
And Mike, before we continue, I see Assemblyman Cunningham has just dropped in, so I didn't know if we wanted to give him an opportunity to say hi.
Hey everyone, just dropped in here in Albany, still working on the budget, but wanted to come in and just thank Citizen Committee of New York for all the incredible work they do in helping us help small organizations and community groups get grants. I'm a big supporter of this group, and I'm excited to hear some of the details as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I heard my colleague, Member Jackson, was on earlier, but we're definitely excited to support this initiative and this effort moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assembly Member. We appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your very busy schedule at this time of year to say hello and to welcome us all to this opportunity. Let's just pause and see if there's other questions about the Community Leader Grant process.
I have a question. What are the requirements?
Let me back up a little bit and I'll show that slide again, just to make it really easy to see. Hang on.
And I'll jump in here. So the requirements that we currently have is for you to have direct community impact. So whether you are a nonprofit or a group of, community members who are seeking to help change your community for the better, that is the overall requirements. Now, you don't have to be a 501c3. If you are, that's always a plus, but you don't have to be. But overall, our goal is to fund direct community impacts within communities that help improve the overall well-being, quality of life, and neighborhoods.
Can you see the screen and see the eligibility criteria for the community leader grant that are listed here?
Yes, I apologize. I was driving, so I didn't see it. I got it.
Not at all. It's not a problem at all. And hopefully, we did drop the link to this presentation into the chat. We'll also follow up with an email to everybody that's here this evening, including all these same links. So you don't have to go fishing around on your phone while you're driving right now. Are there other questions about the Community Leader Grant Program?
Yes, the project, the project of an individual are ineligible. What that means?
Sorry, can you ask that question again? I think you broke up a little bit. I didn't quite understand it.
Project of an individual are ineligible. What that means?
Oh, yes. So we're not providing grants to individuals. We are providing grants to small groups of people. Again, you don't have to be organized in any formal way, but it wouldn't be an award, say, for instance, to an individual artist that wanted to do a specific arts project. Am I answering your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. Tabitha, was that you asking that question, or I see a hand raised?
No, that wasn't me, but I had a question. Would the grant support tenants associations?
Yes, I love that question. We're big fans of tenant associations, work a lot with NYCHA. And we'd strongly encourage tenant associations to submit an application through this program.
Okay, can it be non-NYCHA as well?
Yes, it can. Again, as long as it's a tenant association, we tend to prioritize groups in low-income communities. So we're looking for you to tell us about your community and your application so we understand. But absolutely, we support tenant associations and all kinds of organizations and building types across the city. So love it. Yes, please. I'm looking forward to your application, Tabitha. All right. Any other questions? Okay, if you change your mind and you have a question and you want to ask it later, that's fine. We're going to go into the next part of the presentation now to talk about the neighborhood business grants. But we can circle back if people have additional questions on the community leader awards. Let me just make some space on my screen here and advance these slides. Oops. Not that slide. Actually, let me go back here.
So Citizens NYC recognizes the impact of small businesses on our communities, and we want to help fund those businesses.
Now is a good time to apply. The community leader application oops, I'm sorry. For some reason, I'm having a little bit of a technical issue again. Okay. The Neighborhood Business Grants Awards are there to support small businesses that we know are making a difference in the ground level life of a community. To date, we've awarded, whoops, oh, I am in the wrong place. There we go. nearly $800,000 in neighborhood business grants to about 100 small businesses, primarily businesses that are owned by immigrants, women, and people of color.
Mike, you almost got me there. I mean, I thought I was off track for a moment,
Oh, it
but
was me. It was me.
so Citizens NYC funds for-profit businesses. So this grant is particular for for-profit businesses with at least 10 or fewer employees located within all 5 boroughs, and provide a grant. And you are to provide a grant spending plan and current budget, as well as that proof of ownership. So that is established business with a licensed by the state. One thing we are requesting is that you have been revenue generator from January 2020 or prior. So we don't fund startups or new adventures within the first year. So if you started in 2021 or 2022, unfortunately, this would not be eligible. We do prioritize businesses owned by people of color, women, and or immigrants. And a huge plus is if you demonstrate an element of community engagement. So whether that's you having a back to school drive, or having a food pantry, or things like that outside of the money-making aspect of the business, we really enjoy, and we really seek to fund opportunities like that.
We're going to give you 2 examples of businesses that have been successful applying under this grant in the past to actually highlight what Shaki was just talking about. The first is Name Glow. They're located in the Lower East Side. They're an art event production and retail support organization. They create neon lights and other creative services. It's a woman and minority owned business. They launched their practices in 2016, and they try to make their work very accessible and to refer to the cultural and artistic history of the Lower East Side. They're a local resource for residents and community members looking for creative signage. And they're one of the few companies in the area that is actually employing local artists, including providing access to benefits through their employment. At the height of COVID-19, NameGlow immediately retooled their studio to produce face shields for healthcare workers, and with the help of their community, they were able to donate over 2,500 shields. NameGlow also makes donations of art materials to neighboring schools and families to support enrichment and art making. They applied for and used the grant to bring on a consultant to create a business-to-business sales strategy and support growing their business, helping them make connections with other businesses who could benefit from their unique design experience.
And one of my favorites, I love a good fresh cut every 2 weeks. We have here Against the Grain, which is a wellness / beauty barbershop and salon space located in Staten Island, particularly Thompsonville, who has been in business for over 20 years, employing youth and minority barbers and stylists. The business applied for the grant and hope to move into a larger space to increase employment. Now, one thing really special about this business is they do a lot of direct community impacts. They host back to school events where they provide free haircuts, backpacks, giveaways each year on the first day of school. They also do community work with fatherhood programs on Staten Island. They sponsor food pantries by hosting community barbecues each year. And during the holiday season, they sponsor gifts and a clothing drive for children in the community. Lastly, Against the Grain offers special haircut promotions for senior citizens and the disabled and children in the ACS program. For their grant, they used it to buy more personal safety supplies required by the state mandate during the pandemic. They also used it to increase the productivity in their barbershop by repairing some doors and security lights, and it allowed them to expand into a new store and have a larger program. They also used the grant to help employ youth during the summer youth program.
So let's get down to the nitty gritty here. If you're a business and you're interested in applying, here's what you need to know. I'm going to drop into the chat a link for a template that you can use to help you plan your application. We want to know about your business, your history, your goals, your business model, the services you provide, your customer base. Talk to us as if you were talking to a friend, a neighbor, a family member. Use your voice. We're not expecting to have some, formal writing here. It really is helping us understand who you are from who you are. The grant should be something that's supporting your business to grow. You're going to construct a new takeout window or piece of equipment. Are you going to upgrade your technology? Are you going to improve your marketing strategy? Are you going to offer a new service? Tell us how you'll use the grant to do something catalytic in your business. The grants, unfortunately, can't be used for regular ongoing costs like rent, utilities. We really are using this money and hoping it stays in the community and has an impact on the way that your business functions and operates. We want to know what the long-term value of this grant will be to you. Again, is it strategic growth? Is it internal infrastructure? Is it staffing? And we'd like to understand how your business impacts and interacts with the community. Is it cultural? Is it that your business represents a place where people come together to connect with each other because your business is one of those places where people find community? Is it economic value? Your business serves some need in the community that would be difficult to address otherwise, like a childcare or other service provider? Or is there some larger goal that your organization, your business helps to address, like environmental sustainability or employment opportunities for people that might be otherwise difficult to locate jobs for? We want your budget, of course, to be thorough and specific and to help us understand what your priorities are for the funding itself. Oops, you're muted, Shaki.
Sorry about that. So number one, if you're seeking to contact us, please email us at businessgrants@citizennyc.org or visit our website, citizensnyc.org/grantmaker. If you have received a grant if you have received the neighborhood business grant prior, please feel free to reapply. The priority deadline is January 30th, 2023, which we understand has passed, but we're still encouraging people to apply for our next grant cycle. The first eligibility screening that everyone must complete. So in order to even get the grant, you must do the first eligibility screening, and our grantees usually are announced in late spring, early summer. I see Mike has dropped all of the resources that are needed, the best way to contact us, our website, as well as a blank version to the application and a link to the actual application itself.
Thanks, Shaki. Let me just say a little bit about that deadline because I know it's a little confusing. We did have a priority application deadline of January 30th, but we do continue to accept applications for the Neighborhood Business Grant Program, and we'll probably be doing that for just a little while longer. We're thinking until about the third week of February. The reason why it's a little fuzzy is because we're waiting for some funders to tell us what their grant allocation will be to us, so we know how much we're going to be re-granting in this program. That being said, we're still looking for people to apply. You have a little bit more of a window, but I would say probably after the 21st of this month, we're going to hit a hard deadline. So if you're interested in this program, I wouldn't wait too much longer. All right, let's see if we have questions about either the Neighborhood Business Grant Program or the Community Leaders All in Neighborhood Grant Program. Go ahead, Tabitha.
Hi, so I have a question, two questions about the business grant. So I know that you said that the business needed to be revenue generating since January of 2020. Would it be possible of June of 2020? Or is it a hard?
Oh, unfortunately, that timeline is one that's been specifically identified by the people that are providing the funding. So it is rather a hard deadline. We wish we could be more flexible on it, but unfortunately, we don't have that latitude.
Okay, do you anticipate that changing in the future at all?
We are having that conversation with our funding partners, but we won't be able to do it for this round.
Okay, and then when is the next round?
We do them annually. So we're just about to wrap up our application cycle for this year. And at the same time next year, we'll be reopening and encouraging folks to apply again. By registering this evening, I want to make it clear, we will add you to distributions, to email notifications about when grant cycles reopen. And we encourage everyone, if you've been awarded in the past, you can still apply again. If you try to apply and you weren't successful, we encourage you to reapply. And we'll continue holding information sessions and try to get out as much information as possible so that people can be successful.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. This is Sule from Southeast Bronx Neighborhood Centers.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question in regards to basically sort of it seems like the funding is sort of project-based for the community leaders application. And I'm in this call representing two organizations, actually. One is a youth cadetting program called Cortona Naval Marine Cadet Corps, for which I was hoping to apply to this grant in order to support some activities in the summer, some excursion. We do have the program in a very disenfranchised part of the South Bronx. And I wanted to know if that's something that you guys have funded in the past, or do you think it's something that might be worth pitching in terms of the community leaders?
So, sorry, just I want to say back what I think I just heard. So it's a youth services program, and you want to develop a summer specific component that includes bringing the youth from your program to places outside their community that gets them to do some travel and explore the city. Is that right?
Yes, more outdoors based, because we are a cadetting program. And we do want to take the disenfranchised children that we have in our program out of the city to more like a natural component. But of course, that has incurred costs, not only transportation, but also the excursion itself. So we want to know if that's something that you think citizens would fund.
Absolutely. That's a really great example of a youth service program component that could be supported through the through the community leaders grant.
And then the other one in terms of the Southeast Bronx Neighborhood Centers. So we are an organization that actually has land that right now is vacant. We have 2 lots that are vacant.
Wow.
We have been working with Rebuild NYC in terms of making it into a privately owned public space, a community garden specifically. And we wanted to know if that's something potentially in terms of being able to use the funding for like supplies and things of that nature, and the bulbs that we'll need for the spring. Is that something you guys would fund?
Now that I can say without reservation, we support a ton of community gardens all around the city, and those are exactly the kinds of things that they ask for. So I think that would be very much in line.
Okay, so it's not an issue that we own it?
No, as long as it's community, as long as you're providing access to people in the community on a very open basis, it shouldn't be any issue.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I want to say something here, which is that it's great that you brought 2 ideas up in this conversation. I think you know this, but just for folks that may not be picking this up in the conversation, you can apply for both. And in fact, it's not unusual that we award more than one grant to a single organization or partnership in a year. We do that with some frequency, just as long as the two applications are made separately and they're for discrete initiatives, you can actually apply more than once each year. Okay, good. I got some hand claps from that. That's great. What other questions do you have for us, folks?
I have a question. What would make someone ineligible? Like, why would they not be chosen?
Do you mean for the neighborhood business grant or for the community leaders grant?
Can you go to both if possible?
Sure. So
Okay.
for the community leader grant, which is the grant for up to $3,000 for community-based change initiatives, in addition to the criteria that we shared in the presentation itself, if the, like, it's often unusual, like we don't typically support like a single day event, for instance. So if you're just hosting a block party, we probably wouldn't provide a grant for that. If you're a single individual applying, and it was only for something that you were doing yourself, you probably wouldn't be successful. We're really looking for groups of people that have come together and are trying to engage groups of people in the community. On the business grant side, again, in addition to the eligibility criteria that we shared, I think it's not solely about investing in your business. You really have to be able to tell the story of how your business impacts or interacts with the community itself. What's the difference that your business makes, and how would a grant help you make a bigger difference in your community? If you think about the examples that we provided, it's very clear that those are businesses that are really connected through their customers to their community. And we want the neighborhood business grant to help expand those opportunities. Is that helping?
Thank you for that. That was perfect. Yeah.
Great. I see, I believe, Tabitha, you have your hand up again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question about the not the business grant, the other one. You said that you guys, the community leader grant, you said that you guys love tenant association. So in the past, when you supported tenants association, what type of activities were and accomplishments were they completing? Or what do you like to see?
So there's a couple of things that tenant associations come to us for. First off, we can support your organizing work. So if you're doing organizing in a community, in a building, and you need materials, support for communications, if you need to find venues and just have food available so people are going to show up for a meeting, those are all legitimate uses of the funding. If you are a community association that is having a community event or a series of community events to bring people together to celebrate culture, history, or just to kind of have a good time on a pleasant afternoon or evening, those are also possible uses. Although in those cases, we do want you to be able to tell us, like, what is the result of that going to be? It's great that people are coming together and we want people to feel connected in community, but in what way will that advance your efforts around organizing or advocating for something that's important in your community? Is that helpful, Tabitha?
Yes, it's helpful. What about lead testing? Would that be something?
Oh, would you want to use the money specifically to pay for lead testing?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I would suggest to do in that case is paying for the lead testing, but also talking about how you're bringing people together in the building community to talk about the results of that testing, to engage the city's buildings department and health and human safety in case there are instances where lead is high. Talk to us about, again, it's like, I think you can use the money to do that, but it needs to be in connection with the ways that you want that information to be acted on by the community. Does that help? Great. Giselle, I see your hand up. Did you have a question too?
I have to. So the first one is, was looking on the flyer and it says something about non-religious organizations or parents and organizations are not eligible. Can you explain that for me? And also, the way Tabitha was explaining. So we are in a group of parents with disabled children. So what we want to use the money is for doing training, help the parents with any fees that they need for like applications for schools and all that. Will that be eligible?
Great questions. So in answer to the first question, we don't tend to support religious organizations. I think there's just, generally concerned that we don't want the services that we support to be filtered through a particular religious affiliation or a preference for people of a given religious community. Now, there are a lot of religious organizations in the city that run programs that are open for everybody. They're ecumenical. So it doesn't matter if you're a Jewish organization or a Catholic organization or a Protestant organization or Islamic organization, because you serve everybody. In those cases, we are accepting of applications from organizations as long as it's really clear that the services you provide are open to everybody, and there's no expectation that they would be approached about a particular religious perspective. So that's the answer to the first question. And then the second question, working with parents of disabled children, we probably would not directly support funding for paying fees for parents to access enrollment or application costs. There probably are better sources than us for that. And I would refer you to your local school district partners, or actually to New York City 311. They would probably be able to connect you with additional supports and services in that regard. But if you were using the money to bring together those parents to talk about the strategies for accessing benefits and supports, or supports and approaches to help their children learn better at home or to connect home and school learning, I think all of those would be very appropriate things to consider applying for. Giselle, does that answer your questions?
Yes, both. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let's see if there's other questions out there. We have just a couple more minutes. I do see in the chat, Ms. Dean, I believe, asked about health fairs. That is also something that we have funded in the past. Again, just as long as it's not a one-time event. Maybe it's a series of health fairs on a specific topic or a series of topics like asthma or obesity or hypertension. And being really clear about how you're going to connect it with your community. Who are you reaching out to? Are you reaching out to parents in the school district that have children affected by asthma? Are you reaching out to a group of senior centers for seniors that may otherwise be affected?
Sorry, somebody has to mute. Thank you.
So let us know if you're going to apply for health fairs. Like, tell us that story of how that's going to connect to a series of events and larger impacts for your community.
Actually, I'm starting a series event at my high school to do community and wellness resource fair. And in them, we have the resources as well as health insurance, either a hospital or a community center that provides vaccines, blood pressure screening, diet, like
Yeah.
nutrition, education, food demonstration, some exercise, where you know that it's gonna, the goal, and that would be like in a monthly basis. And the goal is to educate and provide the service to parents and the teenagers, and hope to have a healthier community. And that would be I would say the long-term goal.
That sounds really compelling, but again, we probably wouldn't support just a single event.
Yeah,
So-
no. I actually, I'm setting it up for like a monthly event for
Oh.
at this point. Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Strongly
Yes.
encourage you to apply.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do see in the chat, there's a question about childcare providers. I'm not sure what the specific question is here, but we have supported childcare providers in the past. I think the trick there is it's not, and mostly they've approached us as for-profit businesses. They've applied through the neighborhood business grant. And I think if you're applying as a childcare provider, it's not just enough to say, we provide childcare and we're asking for a grant. You really want to talk about, again, what is the relationship of your childcare support to the community? How do you work with local residents, with local schools? What kinds of services or other supports do you provide to your young children, to your families that they may not be able to access otherwise? It's about not just being a childcare provider, but the other ways that you're present in and providing services to your community by being a childcare provider. Does that make sense? Okay.
Parenting class. That's a good one.
Yes.
Parenting class for that daycare question.
That's a great example as well. Just a few minutes left. We can probably squeeze in one more question.
I have a question. I'm sorry, the background is a little bit noisy because I'm still on the highway. So we're a nonprofit organization and we've been doing services in the Brooklyn communities, like activities in the park where we have like arts and craft, mindfulness and some recreational sports. And we are going to start up again back in spring. We want to know if we'll be ideal for the grants under those circumstances.
Is your organization, your nonprofit, does it have a budget of $150,000 per year or less?
Less, yes.
Yes. So you would meet that eligibility criteria, and it sounds like what you're doing would be eligible and interesting to apply for. So I think I would encourage you to get an application in.
We did. We put in an application earlier this month.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I look forward to reading it.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Assembly Member, for asking if this information is helpful. We always like to know if it's helpful. Hopefully it is.
I know
It
it is
sounds
for me, because when people ask me questions and I want to refer them to you, at least have a little more information.
Contractors, they're one simple.
Well, we appreciate it. We really want to make sure that we're helping your constituents, and would love it when you send them our way. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. It's been just a pleasure. I loved your questions. I can tell there's a lot of interest and enthusiasm. Get in those applications. We really want to read them. We want to hear from you, and stay in touch with us. If this isn't the right moment for you to apply, but you might change your mind in the future. We host information sessions and we do ongoing rounds of grant making. If you don't join us don't submit something this year, we hope you'll submit in the future. Thank you to our Assembly member colleagues for co-hosting this evening and helping bring us all together. It always makes such a huge difference to have your presence with us. And I wish everybody a very pleasant Wednesday evening, and I look forward to getting your applications in our process.
Thank you so much for doing this, guys. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.